Welcome to the channel, Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. When you think about human nature as a whole, you're dealing with a complex construct of all different kinds of psychological fibers and fabrics and blends and twists and turns that make up the person to whom they are. Now, you add to that family members with different formations, the way in which they live, what they've chosen to do with their lives, relative to how well or bad they're going to look after themselves. And you've got a complex construct of what can be something that leads to such a deep form of rebellion and disaster that you can't even tell it's going on the surface. This is where all the covert attributes of the sinful nature come into play. And the funny thing about it is, the sinful nature works so well against its host that the host doesn't even know it's under its influence. It's so stealth and covert, so clever and cunning and destructive, that the host, the human host, all of us have one, don't even know when it's working and when it's not. Now you think about how fickle, how dangerous, how fragile that makes us, because even the most devout Christians have fallen prey to the deceitfulness and cleverness of the sinful nature. The Bible describes it as the old man. Another way of putting it is the Adamic nature, referring it to being conceived when Eve sinned, was deceived. There's many other ways the Bible describes the sinful nature as working against its host. It works against the host in every way possible. It's magnificent. It's evil. And you'll come up against people that are able to quelch their sinful nature when you meet them. In narcissistic language, it's called the love bomb phase, or the incredibly interested in you phase, nothing else matters phase. And many a person has been deceived by the host of the sinful nature at this phase. You see, if a human's starved of something for long enough, it will appreciate it. There'll be a tremendous appreciation, a tremendous hunger, a tremendous passion for that which the human nature has not received. But after the hunger's, the appetite's been satiated, well, then things start to change. There's incredible things that start to change inside the host, because it says that we're deceived by our lusts. Lust deceives. And these lusts can work in thousands of different combinations against the host. I've had women that have come into my life and I've had relationships with, and they've been tremendous at the start. And then all of a sudden there'll be a little crack. A crack will appear. An infantile attitude, excuse me for that, an infantile attitude, an uncharacteristic. I remember one woman, she spilt the mince out of the fridge, flat on the floor, blood on the floor, whatnot. And she put the mince back in the fridge but didn't clean the blood on the floor. And I got home and I've gone, I don't understand. Why is there blood on the beautiful kitchen floor? And she said, I was going to do it later. No, we don't do stuff like that later. We do stuff like that straight away. And of course, that was a red flag, and I never noticed it. There was a red flag. A negligence. Red flags usually manifest themselves through micro-incremental negligences, and you'll get resistance. A lot of these women, let's get this straight right now, have been spoiled by the weak men that they've been with. A lot of these women have had their way too easy for too long. They've made out their victims, but they've taken a course where they've had partners that have suited them in the sense that they were able to do whatever they wanted. And they get bored with that. Women like direction. Women like to be led. As long as you don't smother them and try and, take over them, women are very good followers. But it's very hard for them to follow you when their spawn, adult spawn, is enmeshed with them. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And what you've got to realise is they will go back to the spawn. They'll go back to the children. You have to accept that. Before you even start, you have to accept that the child is the reflection of the mother. The mother will return to the child just as the child returns to the mother. It's very rare when you find these single mothers that they are able to navigate their life in a way in which the children don't sabotage it. Now, they're not going to admit that. What the women don't realise is men ain't going to tolerate the nonsense of another man's children, whether she's the mother or not. Particularly if they've got their own to deal with, they're not going to bother with them, with the bad behaviour of somebody else's children. It's up to the mother to sort that out, and a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't know how to. As a matter of fact, a lot of them will encourage the bad behaviour and stick up for it. That's why there's so many deadbeats around now, so many misguided young men. They've been completely deceived by the enabling of these single mothers. They've just been enabled to the point where it's become what they are. You see, what you're seeing in front of you is what it is. And for some of you, it's so bad, you don't believe it is what it is because it's so bad. You just think it's no, it is what it is. You better believe it. You are with the wrong people. And these people will die that way, and they'll die young. You want to play with life like that and take your mind off the game and think that you're going to bluff it and wing it? No, you run into people like me, and the next thing you stand there on your own thinking, probably thinking, well, I'm glad that's out of the way, and then 6 months later going, I wish I had listened. That man was right. He was trying to help me and my children, but I was too ignorant and stupid to see that. Now my children are bigger addicts, drunks and losers because I enabled them to be that way. I didn't want to listen. That's where these women that have been spoiled by the men that they've spent decades with end up. They end up thinking that they know everything. I've watched these women and I've just sat there and thought, nobody could be that stupid. Nobody could be that ignorant and think they know so much. I used to think these people love themselves and they're as stupid as a seal on a piece of ice. They're just slipping over everywhere and they're taking their adult children with them. And it's disgraceful. Why make excuses? Why make excuses for the ignorances, deliberate, willful, bad decisions that these people are making? upon themselves. Why? The greatest truth of spirit and truth that you can do for somebody is to tell them the way that it is. And then you're free of it. If they don't find their way out of or some kind of correction towards whatever the problem is, well, number one, they don't value you. Number two, they don't want to listen. And number three, they're happy to go on the way that they are. So let them. It will come back. I'm telling you, they will not walk away scot-free. It doesn't work that way for anyone. It just doesn't work that way. It's not going to be that way. Before you know it, they're ill, sick, they've all got mental problems. Again, they think they know everything. They're sarcastic, arrogant, ignorant. They lose their way, and all of a sudden they realise that life slipped by them and they made the wrong choices. And it's bad. What they see is bad. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. They've had people that have come into their lives. If they had built the right way, they could have been right for life. But no, they knew everything, only to find out they knew nothing. And now they all hate each other because their wisdom was just foolishness. There was no wisdom in it at all. It was just foolishness. Complete and utter foolishness. Ridiculous. And they look back and they go, that person was right. He was right. And I didn't listen. And they lived with it for the rest of their lives. Short lives. Don't let it be you. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.